was a face, yes, but a face like no other he had ever seen or ever wished to see again. The hair, what there was of it, was lank, greasy and grey as a corpse's, and hanging long over the skeletal shoulders. The mouth was only a huge, wet, black, gory hole. And the eyes were the worst of all, staring out redly from the hollow. Redly? Is that a word? Can one say that? Redly? Tanya?
Tara.
Sorry.
Welcome back to the second part of our seasonal Tears of Fears list. This is going to be another video where we rank the second run this time of A Ghost Story for Christmas. I'm Jack Benjamin, and again I'm joined by Charlie Giggle. The Ice House killed the original run.
Yes.
There was nothing for decades after that until 2005, right? So the BBC4 rooted out the original run and rescreened it in 2004 alongside with a couple of fun documentaries of authors looking at M.R. James's work and the tradition of Christmas ghost stories. And then in 2005, they began a new run of productions, which were sporadic at first, but have since turned into an annual event that has now gone on for longer than the original run. And we'll get to Gatiss later, but when the reinvention of the franchise first happened, it was not with much of his involvement. So 2005, we start strong with A View from a Hill.
Hello? Hello?
Directed by Luke Watson, written by Peter Harness, and based on the story of the same name by M.R. James. Back to the source. An archaeologist has a disturbing experience after borrowing a pair of binoculars belonging to an outcast local historian and venturing up a notorious landmark. Now, I don't think that that's a particularly good explanation of the plot, but I want to just get straight into the fact that this had another of those lines in it that I found like inexplicably hilarious, and that is, he had pretensions of being an archaeologist himself, and
Yeah.
I am an archaeologist.
I am one, yeah, I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor, actually.
Yeah. That's quite good.
This is really high for me, to be fair. I think
Really
that
high.
as a revival, it taps into a lot of what made the very first, the omnibus Whistle and I'll Come to You work. A lot of the atmosphere is organic, natural noise. There are a couple of moments where, and it had to happen at some point, the BBC music department came on board and put in some stupid twinkly stuff. And as far as I understand, they're kind of like they run the show at the BBC, and you can't reject them on any enterprise, or they'll beat you up in the toilets or whatever. So they had to have some rubbish twinkly stuff in here. Most of it is congested into the credits, mercifully, but I think that it would have made the last little beat at the end nicer to just go out with organic sounds, as with Whistle and I'll Come to You. where after Parkin's breakdown, you just have the breathing and then just the gush of air afterwards. And here you get kind of like this archaeologist thinking back on what's happened to him. He hears a rustling in the bushes behind him. He breaks his pencil on the pad and he gazes up and it freeze frames on him for a second. And then it fades to black. We don't get to dwell with that. We get some silly twinkly music and a normal credits.
It's the
And
old,
it
it's
diminishes it a little bit
long.
for me. But yeah, very big on the organic atmosphere, right?
I'm not sure I would say very big. I think it was very big in terms of like period atmosphere. It wasn't very big in terms of like flat on creep, and it didn't have the vibe from the originals of this sort of creeping um sort of ancient evil.
I think it depends on your definition of ancient evil, right? So I think that there's some real rural fears in here. And I this is another of the ones that I found tapped into something of my core fears when I watched it. And I think looking back to my childhood, that's like you go on if you obviously you have to walk somewhere far away by yourself at a certain point, and there's fears that play in the back of your head about what if I meet someone or something that wants to do me wrong, you know?
Mm.
You are going to be miles away from any kind of help, especially as the sun goes down. It can, you know, I think that is an ancient fear. And unfortunately, even if we go back to the cinephiles, that is also an ancient fear um, that has been around for far too long. So yeah, I think that there's something primal that this still manages to tap into.
I think
And
visually it's a film where I think being colorblind didn't help me a lot. I didn't enjoy particularly looking at the overall to what is to a Deuterobe a kind of brownish orangey glob that is the British countryside. And then
yeah,
I think you really need that sort of contrast of colors between their outfits and the this is just what Robin said anyway. Like I was like, is it just me or was that like really boring to look at? And I think it's kind of a colorblind thing. I think I just don't get the sort of magnificence and the sort of vividness of this green.
you are a little bit at a disadvantage there. Also, that should tap into some kind of primal fear for you, though, because as we've established in previous conversations, that means you would not be able to see a tiger in the undergrowth. So, seeing plants should be something that provokes fear within you.
I think the idea is not to go to the undergrowth.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have that luxury, um,
Yeah.
but that ain't for the likes of us, sir. Some of us have to go and walk out there. Yeah, so yeah, eventually
I
you.
wish I did like it as much as you. I promise I'm not just doing a sort of oh, it's not like the old stuff. I don't know why I'm
No,
worried.
no, no. I know that, but
I really did try, and I've actually watched it twice because I watched it and I was like, these two BBC Four ones are kind of meh. Like I found them really hard to even remember anything about them, honestly. And I went back and watched them both today, and I still can't remember. They just haven't grabbed me. I don't know why.
I still think that the thing that maybe grabbed me more than anything was the amount of the willingness to give peace, just stillness sometimes. And again, there's this
True.
creeping inclination to let some of the BBC music department in there to the film's detriment, but they restrain it mostly. I think the sound design let it down a little bit in
Mm.
terms of,
I'm there. I think if it had that sound, then if it had
well,
more going on that was a bit more off-putting and not kind of plinky plonky, don't we all like Doctor Who and all of those, Good Night, Mr. Tom or whatever.
I'll tell you what really did it for me though was the eagle sound, right? That is my inner pedant, or my child, to be honest. My inner child has always been a pedant. If I hear an eagle sound, like what you would get in Birdemic, for a red kite, then I'm immediately like, that is not how that should sound. I'm out of here. And unfortunately, that happened. But it was that's not not enough for me to have written it off. So I've put it third on my list. This is my
Third.
third favorite adaptation.
Third. Are you mad?
Absolutely third.
Third.
Well,
View
you could
from
have worked
home.
that out because I've put several quite far down.
I like this film so little that I've repeatedly referred to it as A Room with a View.
Not even a room to a view to a kill.
No, A Room with a View.
Wow. Okay. Well, you've clearly put it further down than I have in that case. Where have you put it?
I put it under the stalls of Barchester.
Hmm.
But I'm willing to negotiate, but I'm not willing to put it above A Warning to the Curious. I can't do that.
Uh, no, that's fine because
Honestly, I don't want to put it above Lost Hearts. I don't know why you think Treasure is better than Lost Hearts. But I'm not putting it above Warning or Ash Tree or Signalman. I'll say that. That's where I draw the line.
okay. Moving on in that case.
I brought us a little nightcap.
Is anything the matter?
Do you think it's funny, do you?
Mr. Anderson?
Playing tricks on outsiders. Scaring them half to death with your idiot shadows.
I thought you wanted to know about the hotel.
The only thing I want to know about is room 13.
We have number 13, which I'm guessing is your absolute favorite film, actually.
This is the first one I would chuck in D personally. I thought nothing really happened. They sort of walk around, they sort of look at a door, it goes, "Ooh." And it just felt like a BBC4 short film by someone I didn't particularly care for. No offense.
It doesn't get away from the chumminess of M.R. James's original as well,
No,
which
but
is
that's not really what I'm here for. Like, if you don't have Spook, I'm not really here for the chumminess. Like, I preferred the second,
exactly.
where they talked about, really complex philosophical terrors. Like, that's interesting. This kind of blah blah blah. Like, it was cool in Whistle and I'll Come to You, but in Whistle and I'll Come to You, it had the banter, but it also had the sort of philosophical darkness. Whereas number 13 just didn't fill me with any kind of emotion at all. It just
Well,
kind of
yeah, and the closeted homosexual tension in Whistle and I'll Come to You was obviously a lot more subtle, whereas in this it's just like, and I'm not saying that there's no place for it being overt. I'm just saying, like as with everything else in these films, I prefer a bit of subtleness. And yeah, just the guy reading his newspaper, trying to pretend like he's not just looking at the guy that he's been angrily flirting with, talking to a woman, acting like he's not jealous, and then storming out of the place immediately. It was, it was very public school chummy, but
I were you like invested in any of these characters?
no,
No.
not really. I mean, you know who I was invested in? The hotelier. I felt immediately bad for him
Yeah.
because the guy is such an asshole to him.
Such a prick.
So yeah, just the plot is an academic researcher repudiates local superstitions surrounding a devilish house in a cathedral city. He sees repeated visions and noises during the night that suggest he may be proved wrong. Ooh. Part of that is that there's no number 13 in the hotel, and it's a local superstition. And, you can figure out why that might be. But then during the night, at certain times, he swears that he could see the number 13. And this guy is just
Jim
the
Carrey
most.
film.
Hmm?
It's that Jim Carrey film.
I guess so, yeah.
The 20, is it 23? I don't even remember the number.
But this one features the most like grotesquely ruling class dickwad that you can imagine, where it's like everything that happens to him, the first reaction he has is that
Oh,
he has somehow been wronged by the peasantry.
I don't. Oh, well. Oh, oh.
What is that?
Yeah, that was him. That was everything he did for the entire film. Just those series of noises.
But yeah, like so the hotelier's like he nags him into giving him the local gossip, right? And when the hotelier finally caves in
He doesn't
and
even
warms
want
up
to.
to him, he brings him up like a hot drink late at night. And the first thing that the guest does is to castigate him for playing pranks on him by pretending that his room was haunted, and he should be so fucking ashamed, right? And when it comes out that actually there was no prank and there really is ghosts, not one apology is offered.
No.
It's just like, yeah, I hate this guy, and I
But this
wish
is the bit
something
where
worse would
you
happen to
jump
him.
into Scrappy's arms and you go, oh, that's quite satisfying, that beat. And this didn't have it.
Yeah. So, where have we got this? I have
I put it
got
in D.
D. I've got the number 13 as my number 15, actually.
So that's out of 19, right? So D seems pretty good.
Yes, I'm gonna say that anything beneath that gets an F, though. So, yeah, we've got two more of those.
It doesn't have to be anything below that. There can be a couple more in D.
Well, sure, sure. I'm just saying that's what I would recommend. But
Really, you think it's that bad? Not okay. Well, we'll get on to
well, I don't know if you think you have the same opinion as what I do here. We might be talking about different films, but
right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this
oh
activate
yeah,
card
okay.
back into my hand, and we'll pretend that this is the new one.
Ah, you forgot about my trap whistle, and I'll come to you
Yeah, exactly.
because yeah, that's the next adaptation.
Next one.
I love you, my darling. I'll see you soon. Call me if you need me. Oh, whistle and I'll come to you, my lad.
Whistle and I'll Come to You. This time directed by Andy DeEmony and written by Neil Cross. Again,
Director done a
from
lot.
hmm?
Is this director done a lot?
Andy DeEmony. Well, I can't click on his name on Wikipedia, so it doesn't seem
He
like he's
doesn't
done
have
a
a
lot.
wiki.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
I have to say, unfortunately for the listeners, that I have a lot more to say on this film than I thought I would. And so I'll let you have at it first, see what you thought I was going to say, and then maybe we will subvert each other's expectations.
Wow. Well, this is a really complicated film, isn't it? I actually understand exactly how you feel. I have a lot of thoughts about it as well. I thought it had a very promising, beginning to the film. I did miss the character of the American tourist. I did miss the grapefruit and that sort of second character, but it quickly became clear to me, oh no, the dementia is going to be, the
Yeah.
whole thing. I then put, I feel like the statue is low key kind of lame. But then later on, I'm completely switched. It did scare me. I thought the knocking was really scary. I thought those scenes did scare me, and then eventually the later one with the fingers and all this, I did think it was scary, but then it did make me think about euthanasia, and that's not a Christmas vibe to me. You know what I mean?
Who are
Like,
we to say what a Christmas vibe is?
yeah, but to me, I don't want to be sitting around on December 24th with a paper hat on my TV thinking, I really hope grandma just is allowed to die. You know what I mean? To me, that's not the kind of thing that I want. And also, although the scare was good, the actual ending of the film, they did kind of ruin it. And, they kind of screwed it up with the ending. But I did want to
Yeah.
add, it feels like someone had an idea for a film and then they got a chance to remake Whistle and I'll Come to You, and they
Mm.
kind of, polymerization fusioned those two films together into a film that kind of thematically makes sense. But what does the whistle have to do with loneliness? I guess because the dog comes, but it
He
just,
just said it, didn't he? He just said it because it's a quote from a poem anyway, right?
well, of course, he doesn't blow the whistle in this one, does he? He just
No,
says
he
it.
just says, "Oh, whistle and I'll come to you," as in like, cool, and I'll come back from my holiday.
Yes. Yes, I forgot about that, that there is no whistle. I'm not actually bothered by that. But yeah, what did you think then? Because I feel like it was two things smushed together that worked in terms of scares until the end. And I thought the ideas weren't quite what I wanted. And I think that he did have the argument about the existence of ghosts and rationalism with the hotelier a little bit, but not really. And I think it missed that interaction.
I think that you have got a very good approximation of what happened with the production, I think. It's when I watched it the first time, I was watching it expecting an adaptation of Whistle and I'll Come to You, and I thought it was a very poor adaptation of it. Watching it this time, I think if you just go into this expecting an original story, it's not half bad.
Mm.
Um, like it's actually up there with one of my favorites, to be fair, for the themes that I think severely depressed you for your Christmas viewing. But we the adaptation takes Professor Parkin, and he's no longer a neurodivergent, potentially sexually repressed uh, professor who is just a real pain in the ass to everyone that he's around. And now he's a retired astronomer who is leaving his wife who has dementia in a care home because he's no longer able to look after her. And on advice of one of the carers who's sympathetic to him, he revisits one of the old coastal haunts that he and his wife went to in their younger years. He isn't able to find comfort or solace there, though, and he discovers a ring on a beach, which now is where the inscription, "Who is this? Who is coming?" is found upon. After which he finds himself haunted, and it's not clear who he is being haunted by at first. And getting into spoilers in a second,
I think we have to, because I think we have to talk about the ending.
absolutely have to. I think that the idea of the ghost being a living person and this kind of being this metaphor for like watching your loved one fade from existence and just being retained as this shade of themselves, a living ghost, is so powerful. Um, I think it's an incredibly moving idea, and I wish somebody had have just believed in it enough to give it its own story and not have to kind of tag on the whistle and I'll come to you stuff.
Yeah.
Because it works so much better when you just take away that expectation. And yeah, I think I put this as my seventh favorite in the end, and I went into this expecting that I was going to put it down in the bottom. I mean, that obviously went out of the window as soon as I saw Stigma, but then when I got round to seeing this for its own, in its own right, I thought this is so much better than I remembered. Kind of haunting portrait of caring for someone you love, and then not just that kind of like metaphor for seeing somebody become this living ghost, but then the haunting itself is he's haunted by a projection of his wife who he feels he has abandoned. And I think that that is an experience that so many people increasingly now are familiar with, because obviously the care system in the United Kingdom is an absolute dumpster fire. You have virtually no support if you are going to try and care for a loved one yourself. And when that pressure ultimately gets too much for you, which in most cases it does, and a care home steps in, there is an emotional burden that comes with a feeling that that's a reflection of your lack of care, your inability to do basic things for the people that are nearest and dearest to you. It's all piled on the individual now. And it's obviously been that way for decades, and it's been an unfolding crisis for decades that that successive governments have kind of palmed off to one another. And at the same time, like we talked with the signalman, society has then placed all of this expectation, all of this horrific fear on the most minute and alienated unit of society, the individual, every time. So yeah, I think Whistle and I'll Come to You is not well represented here as an original story. But if you ignore the adaptation angle, yeah, it's one of the best that there's been.
I think there's a danger of us sort of saying this, but then if someone was to actually go and watch the film, the way that they would feel immediately after it ended would not be this sympathetic to the film. I think it's when it is over, I think that the ending was handled, in my opinion, so poorly that I can't put it up in A. I just can't do it. Like I think it had some really good stuff going, and then at the end, it kind of just goes a bit woke. You know what I mean? She just starts going screaming, I'm still here, and it's just too much. It kind of ruins the whole thing. Like she was this really scary specter, but then you just turned her into a normal old woman, and I'm also a bit like, hey, like screw you. Like, why are you coming to my room, scratching on my door, scaring me?
Well, see, that's the
Not
point, though. I
my
think
fault.
no,
What do
I
you
think
want me to do?
I agree. It's not his fault, but I also think that that is a valid point to bring that up. That you know whether or not it's his fault, he's going to feel that way. And again, that is the way that people in this situation will feel, whether or not it is their fault. And it isn't. And I think, yeah, I agree. Some people might come away not having read that right. But as critics, as philosophers, is that not the point of what we're doing here anyway, right? To like help people to understand that, there's different ways to read these films rather than just the direct and overt.
I
You
think it was
can look into these things.
I think it's more like adolescence. I think it just decided to be really woke at the end. Like it decided to really spell out that it's saying, this is about this. You know what I mean? And it kind of it overplayed its hand to the point that it kind of hurt the spectre of the film because it humanized the spectre. And once you humanize the spectre, and then she's over there scratching on the door, you sympathy for her because it's like, stop being annoying. All it made me think is people should be allowed to die. And like, what's that? Is that good?
Well, it's not bad, is it? Like,
I don't want activism out of this. You know what I mean? I want chills. I want like the horror. And it did the horror really well. But then at the end, it felt like sort of the end of Vicar of Dibley, that one season where they sort of all come on and say, oh, give to the earthquake campaign. We really care about the earthquakes and that. And it's just a bit like, oh, shut up.
I mean, I don't think that it is accurate to say ghosts should be removed, or ghost stories should be removed from society, right? Or from living politics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that every piece of folklore and mythology throughout human history is some form of reflection of human relations and of politics. And
I think it fumbled its political.
trying to extract that is itself a highly politically charged maneuver, which I think, it contradicts itself.
Well, I think it has to sit in the subtext though. Like I think it was fine. I love everything about the film until starts going, I'm still here, I'm still here. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
I do agree that
with the theme,
overplaying its hand in the
I
last
think it,
moment, right,
yeah,
is like a violation again of treating the ghost with care.
exactly, which then
So,
fumbles the entire political point in the first place, which is why I called it woke, because it's like
I
it makes the
really
political
wish you
so
would stop
heavy-handed.
using the term woke. Even ironically, it's a dead horse. Let's stop flogging it.
Yeah, it's dead. Do you get
Um, I don't think that it undermines completely the point, no.
Okay, cool. Well, you'll like it more than me then.
But I think that yeah, I could have done with
Love
less
stalls?
of an overt jump scare at the end. And I feel like maybe again
Yeah.
that pressure came from the fact that they were like, okay, well, this needs to be a ghost story for Christmas. And a ghost story for Christmas usually ends with one big scare at the end. So where's yours?
Yeah. But it had a lot of really good scares, to be fair. That's one of the reasons I'm so kind of torn on it.
One last thing I would say, in comparison to the original, which again I'm trying not to do too much, but I didn't so much care for the cinematography of this. And I think
Yeah, it was hit and miss.
there are multiple
Didn't have
times where you miss the opportunity to place this tiny guy in the enormity of and scope of the uh, kind of desolate coastline, right? And in
windmills
the
and stuff.
original Whistle and I'll Come to You, you get that. You get Parkin coming from the cliff down onto the beach and then becoming a distant figure, and you see him trudging alone, and this stretch completely deserted, and the two are connected, you know.
You're
And
giving me.
here you get Parkin go down this set of steps, which you can't see in the context of the wider shot.
Dude, that was rubbish. Why did they do that?
He should absolutely be going down those steps with the big contextual shot, which we get later when nobody's in it, where you see the steps and you see the hotel and you see the beach. And I think just to have that and then to show how alone he is again ramps up the horror. And that's one of the things that Whistle and I'll Come to You also did better, was that because of the way that they contextualize Parkin in that kind of absolute deserted area, you really feel, yeah, there is no hope for him if he is pursued here.
Yep, agreed. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, where did we put
Happy
this?
with it there then? Above Stalls of Barchester, below Lost Heart, or do you want it higher?
No, absolutely, go for it.
Definitely, there'll be people who'll say, "Oh, this is awful," and they're wrong.
I was wrong when I wrote this one off completely on my first watch, either way. Now, one other thing, there's a fairly enjoyable riff on this one still available on YouTube called Whistle and I'll Come to You 2010 Explained. And there, Parkin is reacting to these horrible noises in the night. But we see beyond the door that he's actually just being tormented by the antics of Frank Spencer from Some of Us Do Have 'Em.
I wonder if he's locked his door.
Then there's a gap of 3 years, and we get the first of the Gatiss adaptations.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Are you... Will you be taking out that book? It's just that there's a gentleman downstairs who's very keen to borrow...
The Tractate of Midoth, written and directed by Mark Gatiss, and it is about a young librarian who receives a request for an obscure Hebrew book from a sinister gentleman unaware of its contents, and I am acutely aware that the description sounds quite anti-Semitic, but it it doesn't really go down that avenue.
So, we're into Gatiss era now.
Yep.
We're into Gatiss era now. Delete as applicable.
Yeah.
The main difference is, obviously the tone is a little bit different. The dialogue is kind of there, but it's this kind of new school dialogue a lot of the time. Sometimes it works okay, but I thought for most of the tractate, I just wasn't a fan. And I thought some of the casting was suboptimal. And like, you know, the Nathan Barley guy, I've seen him in The Crown, and he was good in that. So like he can do serious acting, but for whatever reason, him in this role, in this place, you know, as that character, I think that's quite a key character in this whole sort of story for it to work. I feel like he has to be much more charismatic. That sounds really harsh, but the whole thing just came across like a little bit cosplay. You know what I mean? I didn't really like the start at all, and it was all twinkly and looked a bit Twilight. But then the mystery got rolling, and once the mystery got rolling, it started to remind me more of Treasure of Abbot Thomas, and I actually started to quite like it. But I wouldn't say it sort of ended in a really exciting way. I wouldn't say I was overly attached to any of the characters. It definitely was not scary. Overall, I thought it was a little bit Doctor Who, and I gave it a C.
Yeah, it's one that I said was a pleasant watch, but not a particularly compelling one. I don't think it's one of M.R. James's best either, to be honest. And I feel like it's a strange choice to have adapted before a number of others. It's quite chummy, which again is a downfall, unfortunately, when it comes to trying to make something scary.
I can't tell if the dialogue wasn't quite there or if the acting wasn't quite there.
And
Something didn't quite fit. It just didn't work for me. I wanted it to.
a lot of M.R. James' work kind of works through like multiple framing devices. So I'm recounting this story that I heard from someone, and he heard certain parts of it from this other person. And so you get like, again, like this kind of inception of like different stuff. And it comes up, I think, worse in another one later, but I didn't enjoy it here. It all felt a little bit safe and disconnected and disjointed. I think the synthetic CGI dust,
I did not like the cast.
it's the main thing that I remembered from my original watch, and I think that does not speak kindly to the rest of the content, that it was less memorable than dust.
I remember the cast as well.
The most positive thing I had to say about it was that there is that final shot, which just focuses on a spider closely, is such a beautiful kind of weaponization of the monstrosity of nature, right? Like, it's because I think M.R. James was an arachnophobe as well, right? So there's some kind of reference going on there.
And stuff, yeah.
There's a reference going on there, I think, to Canon Alberich's scrapbook as well. There's something that's described as kind of a demon that's quite spidery in that. And yeah, using that as like this way of suggesting this creeping dread is still with them at the end of the story is an impactful shot that doesn't really belong at the end of this very chummy, twinkly story where they've done a bit of their...
is the repair bill. The spider represents the repair bill.
Yeah.
Following them in.
But yeah, no, it doesn't. it doesn't feel like it belongs with the rest of it, which feels kind of inconsequential. And some of it just also has this feeling of, in the first Indiana Jones film, like the whole film could have taken place without Indiana Jones, right? Because if the Nazis just find the Ark of the Covenant, they'll open it and die, and then nobody will have the Ark of the Covenant. That happens here, where the librarian spends his whole time trying to stop this one guy getting the Tractate of Midoth. Because if he gets it, then he will have the last copy of a will to help someone else, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as he obtains it and tries to destroy it, a horrible ghost thing comes and kills him. So you might as well have not done anything and let him have it, and then
Yeah,
you didn't need to do anything.
the whole thing was completely pointless.
Yeah, except obviously Indiana Jones is like really fun, and this wasn't. So
Yeah.
I've got it as my 14th. What about you?
Low C.
I guess that's yeah, because
I think there are more C's that are coming that are better.
there are more seas in heaven and earth than
Yeah,
are dreamt of in your philosophy.
indeed. I didn't like, do you know what? It wasn't a great introduction to the Gatiss era. If I'm like, the thing is, I really want to like Gatiss because, I think he really, really respects horror. And another thing I really like about Mark Gatiss is I feel like he really respects television. And I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of people who, like, no offense to you and like being a film guy and all that, but they kind of
Mhm.
feel like if I'm not making films, I might as well kill myself, right? Like, we might as well just not even bother. Like, television is like a lower form. But I think Gatiss really represents like someone really trying to do something with television, and he has real passion for this project and the macabre. But I really wish I liked his stuff more.
Well, I think he's a very strong documentarian as well. Like his
That is true. I did like his documentary. I've seen a couple of his documentaries, I think.
A
I,
Brief History
my
of
favorite
Horror
was
that he did for BBC Four. I loved that, and he also did M.R. James' Ghostwriter, which I don't know if you've seen any of.
yeah, I have, yeah, and they're both really good. I like him in that, and he also did one on Victoria Wood.
Oh, I've
It's
not
like one
seen
of the
that.
League of Gentlemen guys. I can't remember now. I feel like they're all of the League of Gentlemen guys are on it, but it's like a 5-part series on Victoria Wood.
Yeah.
The Thin Lady's second mention.
No, but you're absolutely right. He cares about the subject matter, and I think that goes further than a lot of his detractors are willing to grant. But he does care about what he's doing, and I think in some of the cases he's got it right. You have to give some credit where it's due, but this is not one of those times.
Sometimes I wonder if he's really dark enough as a person.
Well, you've seen The League of Gentlemen?
Yeah,
God,
I've seen
it's
it, but
dark enough.
he does a lot of dark stuff, but like maybe he's just not dark enough.
He also seems pretty clued into the
I can't say he's as dark as someone like Argento. I mean, come on, that guy is like a demon.
well, sure, but that's why he's doing this and not like a Giallo.
True. But at the same time, I just feel like I want something that feels a bit more like a film.
Oh, but do you want something that's Christmassy too? Yeah, you don't want to talk about death and sad old people at Christmas, right?
Not euthanasia, ideally.
Oh well, I don't know if you're really dark enough for this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not.
Uh, right, so we've got the
I would
Dead
like to
Room.
like it. I really liked Mark Gatiss in Game of Thrones.
But it has to be scary, doesn't it? I mean, these are meant to be horror stories.
Horrifying, yes, but not just horrible. This stuff's no different from going to the morgue to have a shufti at the corpses. I mean, where's the fun in that? No, you need an old-fashioned thing. Reticence. Hold back. Hold back. Always hold back. Until the climax.
Importantly, we've got the Dead Room coming up now, which is the third
No,
original,
Dead Room. Sorry. Yeah, Dead Room's good.
the third original script and the best of the original scripts for A Ghost at Christmas, A Ghost Story at Christmas. It is a low bar to clear, but it
I
is a
agree.
bar that had to be cleared, and it was.
Well, it's
So
somewhat based on the rules of ghosts or something, right?
this is what I mean about the care that Gatiss has for the subject matter, right? So, or Gatiss, sorry. I think some of it is inspired by the essay that we've referred to, Ghosts Treat Them with Care, like the radio presenter Aubrey Judd, played by Simon Callow. He is talking very explicitly along the lines of that essay and saying, hold back, show as little as you can until the final scare. Don't show your hand too early, or it will be open to scrutiny. So I think there was a lot of that influence hanging over this,
And
but
also Lost Hearts too.
and also Lost Hearts, indeed. Um, there is, it's like I think it's also the most successful of the episodes that are set in the modern day. Because I did like this slightly more than the new Whistle and I'll Come to You as well. It's set in a radio studio. The actor is reciting a horror story, which, from the sounds of it, is basically a creepypasta that a lot of people just read online now, plagiaristically.
Yeah, it's like a sort of Ready Player One ripoff, isn't it?
But then he realized that SpongeBob's eyes were super real and blood was coming from them. And he said, I am going to kill Squidward.
Oh man, this is for free, all you lot listening on YouTube.
So it's kind of that, not quite that standard, but it's about uh, modern technology horror, which I don't
Pulse.
generally enjoy.
Pulse is the best. You have to watch Pulse if you haven't seen Pulse. That film's so good.
I'm sure it can be done well. I haven't seen that film, and I haven't seen the concept done especially well a lot.
With the door Pulse. Sorry, I thought that.
But yeah, coming back to the dead room, there's obviously skeletons in this actor's closet, and yeah, I rated this as, actually, this is going to really spark debate, shall we say. I put this as my fourth favorite.
Oh,
And I will also say this also makes reference to something else which Gatiss revived, which is the Radio 4 horror serial, The Man in Black. Fear on 4, as it was originally called, and it had this very deep-voiced, traditional actor, Edward D'Souza, would introduce a weekly horror story that had been dramatized. And Gatiss revived that on Radio 4 for another season as well, so he's got form for this. He's clearly got love for the art form, and it also feels like it might have been written with a mind to addressing directly some of his critics with regards to these revivals, because this guy is a bit of a stick in the mud and is really overtly unwilling to move on from the past and admit that new things can also be good. And in the end, he's kind of dealt a modernized, effects-driven jump scare, which I thought actually worked pretty well thematically and as a bit of horror. And yeah, also it harks back to the other episodes in the series, because you've got another Shakespearean actor playing a sneering know-it-all who is wrestling with some kind of secret identity. So yeah, what did you think though?
I thought at the start that we were going to do Dementia again, and I was about to quit. But it wasn't that, luckily. I thought it took. Oh, I don't know. You're gonna hate me, but I thought the girl was kind of annoying. But I thought it took a while for what's his name, Simon Callow, right?
Yeah.
I think it took a while for him to sort of, in wrestling parlance, get the character over. I feel like for the first 10 or 15 minutes, she was kind of annoying, he was kind of a dick. And I don't think it worked straight away, but I think after about sort of 13, 14 minutes, his performance is just so good that he draws you in. And I think he did a lot of really good work in this piece. Like, I feel like you could recast this and it could have been a D. But I don't think it quite paid off the whole sort of U tree theme as much as I would have liked it to. I don't think they sort of properly explored the conflicts between her and him. They sort of dabbled in this kind of woke, anti woke thing, but then it kind of gets thrown to the
No,
side.
they don't. They don't dabble in that.
It is a thing. He's sort of
No,
like,
it isn't,
"Oh,
and it
I'm the
wasn't. It certainly
climax."
wasn't then.
He used the term tranny.
Every day we used to sneak off to the park or the heath, old beach towels, little tranny. It's a transistor radio.
As
So
a
transistor radio.
transistor radio, yes.
So he
I
was
mean,
the
yeah,
one.
someone was using the word woke in 2018. I admit that, but that was an Americanism in 2018. Nobody seriously was talking about that in the UK then.
I thought he sort of wanted to sort of play with this idea of sort of political correctness and him being out of time. But then by the end, she just kind of feels sorry for him and is desperately trying to placate this annoying man. And I just don't think that relationship was properly thematically resolved.
I
Is that
got I got some Kevin Spacey in there, to be honest, because he's not telling the whole story, right?
true?
He's an exploiter, um, who then the person who would have gone public and accused him of certain things mysteriously dies. And I'm not saying that's what happened with Kevin Spacey because I don't have a death wish, but other people might draw that conclusion. Uh, and yeah, so there is that kind of aspect to it, I guess. But I
I
I
did
don't know. I
like
don't
it.
know if you have to. You don't have to position that within the woke anti-woke thing. Like, I don't think it cleanly fits in there anyway.
Okay, that's fair. I thought I'm not saying it's like my conclusion. I'm saying it was him projecting that. The character was projecting a kind of woke, anti-woke thing. You can't say these things anymore, all of that. But he's basically using hiding behind I can't say what I want, when really what he's doing is he's hiding a more predatory past. So
Yeah,
he's
no,
kind of
that I
hiding
absolutely
in the
think.
same way as certain celebrities who may have Rumble accounts and used to have long hair and supported West Ham. It's easier to hide behind the
No,
um,
I guess you've got a point there. No, sadly, I think that went on to be a bit of a life imitating art too, because Simon Callow, however good he is here, went on to withdraw his support for Stonewall over its stance on supporting trans people who self-identified. So, I mean, he's too well cast here.
like I'm being quite harsh on this film, but mostly because you already said all the good stuff, and I agree with you on all the good stuff. I feel
I
like it had depth, great performance, and I liked a couple of scares.
I have to say
Not quite
this
claustrophobic.
this is this is one of the shortest ones, right?
About half an hour, I think. Yeah.
Just half an hour. And I think that's kind of how the format's gone now, but I would not have begrudged it being a bit longer and allowing more time to get to know her character. Because yeah, like she gets a couple of points on him at certain moments, but it's
Yeah.
like it could be much more. It could have much more impact and meaning, with more drawn out and potentially, philosophical conversations in there. And yeah, I guess
The other
that's
characters,
all that's been missing from it for a long time now. But yeah, I would like a longer one.
the other character was a bit weird as well because it was
See
a bit.
that especially because you see them chatting. The sound artist
Yeah.
and her are having a good old laugh, and it's like Simon Callow's character has already said, "Oh, she never says a word to me. God, she's a miserable old thing." And it's like, well, clearly she smells evil, and I would have liked to get
Yeah.
more to
Agreed.
know that side of it, and
Yeah,
But
it felt a bit editing flaw to me.
probably, yeah. I mean, the series has kind of been plagued by that and by budgetary issues, so I think probably there's that too. Because a view from a hill, they had to cut several scenes that they were going to film just because they were like, this has to be cheaper, guys. And I do think that setting it all in the radio studio is a really smart way of getting around that.
Yeah.
It's a quite a Pontypool move, right? Like it remains one of my favorite films. I know you're not so
Again,
convinced,
it
but
pisses up the wall in the second act, but yeah.
sticking it all in this enclosed space makes it extremely, as you said, claustrophobic,
Yeah.
which amps up the tension straight away.
Reminded me a bit of like which one is it with the vivisection? Which Dawn of the Dead one is that? Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead? I can't
Where
remember.
they're doing the experiments, that's Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. It reminded me a bit of that one.
It also, in the studio, gives you an excuse for everything to sound perfect and crisp.
Yeah, so true.
And to make the most of that guy's voice,
Yes.
you need that.
It took him a while to get me, but he did get me. It took him like 10, 15 minutes to get me, but he did get me. Bastard. He's good acting.
And yeah, his character is an arse. And
He still got it over.
in
I
the first few moments, yeah, he's an arse, and then he has time to build. And I think that that's not necessarily a flaw for his character to have come off initially that way, and then to try and start to win you over. Because then I think what's chilling about that is that you learn about this other side of the story he's not fully told, and you remember to yourself that yes, as you said with Utri, etc., all these people are they have this opportunity to win favor, to curry favor through their personality and through the fact that you like the stuff that they do, you like the way they present themselves. And a lot of kind of really grotesque evil has been allowed in these media institutions as a result of that kind of charisma, right?
Yeah, but I just wanted her to have a way to go like full Me Too and just be like she gets agency and control over the situation and then he goes to prison or something. I don't know. I just wanted more for her character. Was it Tara her name? Can't remember.
Yeah, I yeah, I would have liked more of that. I don't like. I think the way that it ends without him going to prison is fine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
but you could still do both. You could still have her find stuff out or get one over on him still and prove what happened.
Yep.
Right, we should move on because this has gone on for a while.
Yeah, innit?
And unfortunately, it is. Wait, where did we put it on the ranking?
Oh, or where is it with Whistle? I'll come to. I think it's better than the remake because the ending was terrible on Whistle.
No, absolutely, it's better than the remake. I've got it as my fourth best, as I said. So, I mean,
I still think, looking at this, I still think you're low on Lost Hearts. I still think Lost Hearts deserves to be above View and Treasure, but
all right. Well, I will concede this one to you, but I still maintain, as I said privately, I think we should judge Gatiss on this film, and I think it is a success. I think that it shows that he does
yeah,
have,
it's an original too, isn't it?
and maybe it would be not such a bad idea for him to lean into something original again.
Binks, my golfing partner. Not a man prone to imaginings, wouldn't you say?
I would.
What he saw at first. The alteration. Moonlight, and a figure where there'd been no figure. I merely thought that I hadn't noticed these things on the first viewing, but then last night, or you were there, what was it Garwood said?
That the figure was rather grotesque.
Yes.
So, yeah, I actually watched this a year late, right, or a year after it came out, and it came out 2021. Then I think a year after there was all these adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft for I think Netflix, and I think it was Guillermo del Toro. And they adapted Pickman's model, which is also a a horror story centering around the description of a work of art and the horror building up from the fact that it is being described, but we cannot see it. So anything that enters it into our minds is ultimately more unnerving than the thing that we get shown. And I think in the Pigman's model one, it really shat the bed on that front because it tries so hard to just show us things that it thinks we'll be impressed or scared by. And it is ultimately just underwhelming compared to what comes out of the writing. Ironically, by the way, the writing, Pigman's model, one of my favorite short horror stories, but slightly lifted from an M.R. James story, which again, Canon Alberich's scrapbook has this sentence in it, which Pigman's model hinges on for the punchline, which is that the thing being described wasn't just a drawing from someone's imagination, it was drawn from life. And it crops up in both those things, but obviously M.R. James's was written about 40 years earlier. And I find that slightly ironic because I think I've found some other things where H.P. Lovecraft like trashes M.R. James for being too chummy, but it's like, yeah, all right, he might be too chummy, but you kind of lifted some stuff from him. Anyway, with all that being said, I think the Mezzotint does a better job of adapting that. I mean, it still kind of is hamstrung by the same idea that you show something and it is ultimately less than what you might have imagined, but it's not so try hard about it. And the picture that is held up for us to examine is still kind of abstract enough that there is this kind of like unknowable terror still contained within it. It's not like this overwrought kind of semi-AI image. So yeah, with all that said, yeah, a museum curator is intrigued by the unfolding tale of horror told by an otherwise prepossessing 19th century mezzotint. That's a really bad description of it too, but yeah, he has a picture. It keeps changing when people describe it, and then something bad happens to him. What did you think?
I think it had some decent ideas, and I think the dialogue was kind of hit and miss, but I don't know, just broadly, I don't think it had the sort of atmosphere that I'm looking for. And like, this is around the point now, we're getting to the middle of the Gatiss era now.
Yeah.
I'm just coming to the sort of conclusion that it's all just a little bit I don't know how to put it. It's a little bit BBC, it's a little bit BBC One. Like if you watch the Northern Lights, the Philip Pullman adaptation, it just has this similar quality where it sort of tries to be dark, but it's all a bit sports personality of the year, and it never really has this sort of real tension. The whole thing just feels a bit too polished and a little bit too well put together at times.
Yeah.
And for that reason, it is what it is, and it's supposed to be a bit of a romp and a bit of a this and a bit of a that. And I thought it was the kind of thing that was the first time watching the series that I thought, I feel like I would have preferred to have read the book than watch this. Like, I feel like this could have worked better as a book than a TV show.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of already is a book, though, so you can't really. Yeah, but it is odd that you say that because I do think that this is one of the adaptations that works better than the original, the actual writing.
Yeah.
Because it more successfully gets away from the chumminess of it. I mean, it is still obviously there's lots of yes, very nice. Yes, we'll discuss this over cards. Maybe a spot of golf later. All that stuff still happens. Don't get me wrong, but the end of the written story is basically that the Mezzotint ends up in a museum and it's incapable of hurting anyone, and so it's all inconsequential nothing. That we just listen to some plummy voiced fluff for like half an hour, and this makes an effort to insert some consequence, some kind of form of threat that we might be invited to empathize with the characters about or to fear legitimately for ourselves. And, it's the actual being when it turns up is maybe sub ring kind of entity, but an entity nonetheless that possesses some kind of ominous intent and potential to harm you. So the story is kind of elevated in that sense beyond, as a horror, beyond what it was before. So
That's okay. And I thought it chugged on quite nicely as well.
I've still got it quite low, to be fair, but I do think that there are things to argue for in its favor. So
I definitely didn't take against it, but at the same time, it didn't inspire me like even at all.
I had it at 13, but I would
You think it's better
argue
or
that it
worse
should.
than Tractate Mid-Off? Because I think I preferred Tractate.
I had it above Tractate actually, but I would argue that they should both be C's. They should at least get a pass.
That's okay. Tractate did have all that dust.
Yeah, dandruff, right? What a drag.
So I'll put Mezzotint up.
Get some Head and Shoulders, and you've basically eradicated the spirit. So yeah, the threat is diminished. Right, where were we? So now we move on to Count Magnus.
Herr Nielsen, I know something about that black pilgrimage you mentioned. What was it that the Count brought back with him? Come on, you may as well tell me everything you know.
Herr Ruxel, I will tell you this one little tale and no more. Not any more. You must not ask me anything when I have done. Is that agreed?
Very well.
Another Gatiss adaptation of M.R. James from a story of the same name, and there's a travel journalist, Mr. Raxel, becomes fascinated by the story of Count Magnus, the long-dead founder of a Swedish family who once made a journey to the Holy Land for far less than holy reasons. Now, I don't know if you've got round to playing it yet. Have you played An Excavation at Hobbs Barrow?
No.
It draws on a lot of Jamesian themes. The chief one being that you are some form of academic who breezes into a town. Everyone in the known universe warns you about a thing. You write it off as folksy nonsense from pause, and then you go and get yourself obliterated. And Count Magnus plays nicely into those themes as well. Yeah, Hobbs Barrow you should definitely play. You'd really enjoy it, I think, from this angle. But
Absolutely.
I liked the kind of Englishman abroad kind of like blatant assumption that this guy knows better than everybody else because they're just Swedish rustics. Even when he's talking to a baroness, she's in this massive mansion. He's just like, yeah, well, she's foreign, so she's not really like a rich person. And they're all like, they have a kind of sad resignation in their faces when they're telling him not to do this thing that is really obviously bad, but they know he's going to do it. It's kind of like, in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka is like saying, stop, no, to the kids who are just like getting themselves thrown into chocolate fountains or falling down nut holes or whatever. So, yeah, I enjoyed a lot of it. I thought it was very funny in places. The performance of what's his name? Jason Watkins was really good as well because it's comedic, but then it also borders on almost villainous. The way that he presents himself when he's tormenting the inn owner, right, the hotelier again, to give him information.
Always tormenting hoteliers.
Yeah, and in this case though, it's like almost a punchline when the guy is just like taking food to another table And he's just like, well, you better tell me everything you know now. And he's just like kind of spotlit in the middle of the room, sitting smugly at this table.
I think it all comes down to how you find him, honestly. Because like I've seen some reviews of this that are quite negative, but I thought it was one of the better Gatiss ones. It actually, I don't know. It's either this or The Dead Room for me.
Great, I think is a great performance. A blundering English kind of
it was a bit
upper crust
campy
imbecile.
Yeah, I liked it. It reminded me of those sort of old school protagonists, and the ending was kind of cheesy, but I kind of liked it. It didn't feel completely out of tone.
And I guess also as far as the adaptations go as well, it's one of the ones that's like it overtly tries to like bring it into the modern day because Count Magnus, spoilers, is kind of immortal and living in his crypt with the devil, right? And now there's different kinds of blundering idiots coming to visit him who assume that they know better, and it's not because they're foreign now, it's because time has gone by and everyone young always thinks that anything that old people do is embarrassing and stupid, so they're just like, yeah, I guess we'll go and get some selfies in this crypt.
Yeah. And it was quite satisfying watching them go in thinking, ha ha ha, bloody young people.
Yeah, I bet you're going to do a fucking waggly legged TikTok dance.
Yeah, go and do the waggly leg.
And obviously his like appalling attempts to address people in Swedish, which are like they're more for him to show off that he knows the words rather than to accommodate anyone, because he doesn't actually make an effort to pronounce anything correctly.
Guten Morgen, or whatever.
It's when you're doing your routine designed to offend like Europeans, when you're like, oh yeah, Dutch sounds like German, and then you do like that like voice. But he's doing that in a sense of like he's not overtly trying to offend anyone so much as he's just asserting his position as not needing to please them.
Yeah.
So I liked Count Magnus a lot. Yeah, sorry, but
I like Count Magnus too.
What else did you like about it?
I just thought that I liked the jump scare as well. I thought the jump scare was actually pretty good. It kind
With the tentacles?
The tentacles? I don't even remember tentacles.
Oh, that was more towards when the crypt kind of opens up at the end, so it's not really a jump scare. They look pretty good though. Like for BBC CGI, there's a lot of bad CGI on the BBC.
That comes up like a scary face.
Right, yeah.
Not the one in Lot 249, not the stupid mummy one.
Oh dear, yeah.
One in this one that goes a bit like rah, and there's like an evil face. I can't quite remember.
Yeah,
but I remember it being like, ah! And like by the end, I just felt quite happy. You know what I mean? Like they were sort of going in there. I felt like I just enjoyed watching this guy bumble around for half an hour. It scared me a little bit at the end. There was a little moral, and then it buggered off, and I was like, oh, that was quite good.
Yeah, he gets what's coming to him.
Yeah.
I put this 8th on my scale, so it's above the average, I would say.
I had it mid B is what I put. I don't think it's as good as The Dead Room.
Agreed.
Don't think it's as good as Whistle and I'll Come to You remake.
Yeah, also agreed. So yeah.
Oh, it's very close with Stalls of Barchester.
I mean, yeah. What is it that gives you such pause over the Stalls of Barchester? There must be more to it than just you have a cat and so you like cats.
Got Dolly from Dinner Ladies.
And Dolly from Dinner Ladies. Come on.
I don't know. It just had vibe. It was scary. I liked the scenes. I think it might have been in Norwich Cathedral, you know.
I think probably not.
No, I know. I thought that as well. But at the same time, looking at it, I was like, I cannot convince myself that this isn't Norwich Cathedral I'm looking
at. Locations. Original story was in Germany, but it was filmed in Wells Cathedral in Somerset.
Fair enough.
Anyway, then. So
that was shit.
That was shit and pointless, and much like the Ice House.
Less croquet.
Less croquet. Yeah, well, at least there's that. All right, so Count Magnus, hi.
Pointless and shit.
Where are we?
You're going to tell me you like this bloody film.
What did you say?
You're going to tell me you liked Lot 249, aren't you?
No, and I don't think it should be a surprise because I explicitly told you last Christmas, in fact, that I hated this adaptation. Because we were going through various Gatiss adaptations, and I think this is my least favorite of his.
Cool.
Well?
To a collector of fairy tales, no doubt fascinating, but you cannot seriously believe that.
What other explanation is there?
Can you give me a chance at running down the plot from?
Please do.
I watched this literally yesterday, and the way I would sum it up is that there's Jon Snow from Lord of the Rings, a really good-looking guy, and another really good-looking guy who I think was the same guy as the guy from Dead Room, but maybe he wasn't. All I know is they were both blonde. At some point, there's something to do with an auction. They're all posh. It seems like Kit Harington is heterosexual. And there are question marks over the proclivities and or preferences of the other two men.
Right.
There seems to be some one-way tension. And maybe some two-way tension. And maybe some three-way tension. I don't really know. Kit Harington, it's still weird to me when he doesn't talk in a northern accent, even though I know he's not actually northern. Does that make sense? It's not fair. It's not his fault, but every time I see him and he goes, "Oh, look at me, I'm really posh." I'm like, "No, you're not. You're from Yorkshire." So, but of course he isn't. So that's what happens. And then there's a mummy or something, and the mummy goes, "Rah!" And then they go, "Oh." They look at a fire or something, and all three guys looked really hot. They're really good-looking guys.
Okay, perfect. Perfect summation of lot number 249. Now, there are some interesting things that could have been talked about here. This is an adaptation of the story of the same name by Arthur Conan Doyle, right? And I feel like the adaptation is not particularly interested in the stuff that could have been interesting to like a modern interpretation, and instead is kind of like, yeah, budget, mummy scared thing, right? Like the actual context of the original is kind of this era of what has been referred to as Imperial Gothic, where the empire is in decline. And so this kind of like genre of horror or ghost stories becomes more prevalent, where a foreign entity or nightmare is inserting itself into polite British society and causing mortal problems to that end, right? So it's bloody Egyptian corpses coming over here, taking our honest English ghost jobs.
And that seems generous, but yeah, I guess you could.
No, it's not. Well, that's not generous. I mean, that's just the trend within which this film, this story takes place.
Okay, yeah, you're doing like a post-colonial Egypt British Museum thing.
It became very popular, both to signify kind of like, yeah, this is the empire in peril, but also this story kind of signifies the empire as a weakening entity, because usually in that kind of genre of us versus them story, the foreign threat is presented as what would then have been termed effeminate. And this was one of the first stories where, in this context, someone like Arthur Conan Doyle presents the foreign threat as masculine, like an equal masculine presence. The mummy itself is capable of matching this young, athletic Oxbridge doctor, and that makes it both kind of scary that maybe foreign powers are becoming more powerful, and also that the power of Britain is becoming less in comparison, right? And so that this horror takes place in that kind of context. And then if you're going to bring it into the modern world, you could find ways to riff on that I think this adaptation isn't interested in doing. And I'm not sure if that's just because it's a half an hour show and they don't feel like they have enough time and space, or if the BBC is a bit risk averse to that sort of thing. But either way, I think it was a missed opportunity. I think that the actual scary stuff is poorly delivered, as you mentioned earlier. Except for the chase. I thought the chase was actually kind of good if you took it, if you just saw the chase as like a 30-second micro short. I think it's quite good.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, apart from that, I wasn't getting much from it, to be honest. And yeah, there's still the kind of like the repressed sexual proclivities of the protagonists, etc., are still present here, and I feel like it's subtext that didn't really play well into the story here in the end.
No, it didn't really do anything.
Like
Plus, I'm not sure
it
about.
worked well in some of the other ones, but it not really here.
I don't think it grabbed it. I mean, honestly, as well, Kit Harington, parents are a baronet. How is he so difficult to buy as a posh man?
I had a different experience there, to be fair. I don't like Kit Harington generally.
I'm not particularly sure. Like, I quite liked him as Jon Snow, but I've not liked him in
I
anything else.
don't like him generally, but I thought that actually he was quite good here in a
He's
sense.
very good to look at. Let's be honest.
I'm not saying that he's good to look at though. I'm saying that his performance was good when he is that panicked and blustery like posh guy. When he's like, oh, God,
That's probably just
let
Game
me
of
in
Thrones.
kind of energy. I thought that actually he carries that off pretty well.
All right, fair. It's probably I've just watched too much Game of Thrones, mate.
Well, I put this 17th on my list.
17th. It escapes F because there are no uncomfortable nude scenes.
That's true. That's true.
I
It's
don't think it's
outside of
better
our relegation zone.
Yeah. I don't
Just.
think it's better than number 13. I don't think it's better than Martin's Close.
No, I don't think it's better than anything outside of the F tier. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
So, well, we come to our final one
the
because
last one.
obviously The Room in the Tower has not been broadcast yet.
It is their world, my poor lamb. Theirs to sully and despoil. They're all alike, all of them. Them 2 nights, all them centuries ago. Your husband. Mine. Whether hewn from flesh or stone. They're all as one.
The Woman of Stone is the last so far of the adaptations from Edith Nesbit's Man Size in Marble. And it's about a housekeeper who warns 2 newlyweds about a legend involving their cottage, but to no avail, which is a very broad way of describing this story that's about domestic abuse. What did you think? In fact, I know what you think, but for the sake of the audience who haven't suffered through it yet, what did you think?
I just thought this was one where they tried to do that. They made this guy who's with this woman so freaking unlikable that every single line was a heel line about just perfectly crafted to make him the most annoying, slimy, misogynist, sexist that you could possibly think of. And I think it almost like went into parody to the point that I was just like, for God's sake, get this guy off my television. He's so annoying. And of course, what's his name from Taskmaster turns up, and everything's good. He's good, but I don't know if it was the guy who was playing the guy or if it was I just feel like it was the script. It was just like every single line he had to have a dig, and I just don't think that's a realistic sort of portrayal of a proper misogynist or sexist. I think they could have done so much more with so much less and made him so much more sort of vitriolic. Like, he didn't come across as a man who would punch a woman. He came across as a man who was an idiot. And as soon as the woman came up, he would like fall down. He came across as like a weak, insecure man. And that's okay because that's obviously a part of an abuser's character. We all know that. But he didn't have the physical threat. He didn't have the sort of weight and gravitas as a character to the point that it just came across like a big parody. And, you know, Celia Imrie's in it. She's on Dinner Ladies too. So that was good. But I get the idea. It made a point. It reminded me a bit of Adolescence, if you saw that on Netflix. It kind
No,
of
I
made
didn't.
that was sort of very obvious, something we could all sort of agree on, but it did it in such a cack-handed, like over the board way that it ended up just like a cartoon where this guy was like an American Horror Story character or something. He was just like, so every single line he had to have a go. And I just don't think he was like a proper viable threat.
I think you're going too far with the American Horror Story comparison. I don't think that there's many works in the world that deserve such a contemptuous line as that. But
I feel that way though. I've
if
seen nine
I
seasons
think
of American Horror Story. He
if
reminded me of the
this
people.
had the runtime of Whistle and I'll Come to You 2010, then I think you would have got what you're asking for. And I think that this particular example is really brushing up against the limitations of the format as it's been settled upon. Half an hour isn't long enough to paint this character in anything but the broadest of strokes, unfortunately. And yeah, I would liked some other aspects to his character. However, I would also probably draw the line at pontificating on what a domestic abuser is or is not like. And there probably is a guy out there that is very much like this. There is no subtlety in it, and it is constant. I can believe that person exists, unfortunately.
People all kitten, 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 kitten.
Yeah, no, I can believe that guy exists.
This sort of combination of menace alongside like this sort of chivalry.
But ultimately, chivalry is just this camouflage for that kind of thing. Yeah.
That's strong.
Well, Charlie, I would say that's good for you because you are one of the least chivalrous people I know. So you're safe.
I think the women are equal.
There you go.
Mm.
There you go. You've made real progress tonight.
Oh, have I? That's good, is it?
Yeah, I'm not going to have to send 3 ghosts to haunt you into becoming less of a sexist now. It saves me a job on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm happy to. I just thought it was just like he was such a cartoon that I just couldn't like, and it just like in so many of the. There's a lot of these things that I've been seeing that I wish I could think of the better example, but there seems to be like this, and this idea came to me when I saw like the top chatbots.
Yeah.
And like on the top chatbots for women that they're talking to, toxic boyfriend is like number 2. You know what I mean? Like they are choosing to go out of their way to talk to like a toxic boyfriend.
Yeah, I think you have to filter that, or you
Sometimes
have to
there is just this glamorization of
take
like
that with a pinch of salt, though, because that is also of the people who are willing to treat a chatbot as a human being. Like that, you are already in a specific psychological state when you reach that point.
right. But can I give you an example? Right, the Catherine the Great adaptation that had what's their name from Death Stranding 2, Elle Fanning.
Yeah.
If you ever seen that, there was exactly this thing happened, right? She's Catherine the Great. She's got a husband. He goes, rah, 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 I'm a dick. He tries to drown her. And of course, he has a huge fan base on Tumblr. You know what I mean? It's like when you make someone so cartoonly toxic, you almost make them seem more passionate. You know what I mean? And in a way, it kind of glamorizes the concept of.
I mean, yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, but again, I would put somebody who has a Tumblr account on the same tier of psychological distress as somebody who treats a chatbot as a relationship.
Okay, fair.
Um,
I don't like this theme. I think sometimes when you make someone that hateable, you can accidentally kind of put them over as a heel, and they might accidentally get over as a babyface.
like people like Malfoy, right, from Harry Potter.
Like Malfoy, he's a racist. He hates women. You know what I mean? He's horrible. You know, but he's kind of. But no one wants to have sex with Crab, do they?
But I honestly don't know which one Crab is, to be honest, and I don't want to know.
The one that isn't Goyle.
I don't know who that is. Stop trying to teach me Potter, thank you. It's too late.
I don't know why I've brought up Potter like twice in this thing.
Yeah, no, let's not go into it. But
So I'll give a letter then.
what I wanted to say was we are in a situation where we are fixating on the male characters, and I feel like we should also be talking to some extent, right? I'm sure you would agree about the actual women because it is rare in these films that female characters have the level of prominence that they have in.
L.R. James was not interested in women.
I mean, you could phrase it that way, yes. And that's not just us saying that. That's in the Gatiss documentary.
Is it?
Yep. So this is all of the things I've said this evening. I'm not just being crass, edgelord, bordering on homophobic. This is stuff that is subtext and has been commented upon by people more respected than myself. Okay, so I'm just putting that out there because I feel like, I don't want to just seem like I'm putting this out there for a laugh. This is in there.
And if Lot 249 was actually good, then we'd love it. But it wasn't any good, that's the problem.
If all of these things were good, then we would have loved them. But
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the Ice House could have been good, but had it have been, I'd have had to concede it. Anyway, what we were going to get onto very quickly before we close was that there are women in this story. It's not just about a horrible abuser. And I did really like the character of the housemaid. I thought she was.
Oh yeah, do you know what? I watched it again today to check that I wasn't being a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And I underestimated the character of the housemaid. She was good.
No, absolutely. And so it's Mrs. Dorman, right? And she was played by Monica Dolan. Like a fantastic performance.
Yeah, brilliant. Agreed.
Obviously, as we said, we're brushing up against limitations of time, right? The amount of information she gets across and emotional diversity she gets across in her talk with the lady of the house is phenomenal. It runs the gamut, and that is my big takeaway from this particular film was the strength of that character and performance.
Bastard, that's good.
Elevated it for me, probably higher than it did for you, but. I mean, I still don't have it particularly high. I don't think that it's by any stretch the worst of
no, I don't.
This run.
I don't think it was scary. It's always nice to see Celia Imrie on screen.
Yes.
Always. It's definitely better than the Tractate and the Mezzotint.
I agreed. Those are exactly the two I've got it above. I've got it 12th on my list.
I don't know about Woman of Stone and Stools. I mean, I think it's not quite as good as Count Magnus, but I feel like some people will like Woman of Stone a lot more than Count Magnus, and I'm kind of okay with that. I think it just depends on like how you feel about the sort of pantomime nature of the sort of threat.
Well, the threat is the disembodied force of
Misogyny.
patriarchal rule, right? It's
Do you know what? That guy, he just doesn't feel to me like that.
but in the end, he isn't, right? Because I mean,
No.
within the realm of the story, it literally is the supernatural, the ghosts of the marauding knights who have returned to visit horrific crimes on any women they can lay their hands on.
But I feel like if we redid this and put Danny Dyer in that role,
As the knight,
no, as the
oh,
evil guy, if Danny Dyer plays that, it might actually be a great film.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
he would bring that
absolutely.
threat.
The
You know,
problem is, if you get him involved, he'll want to be some kind of producer, and then he'll start changing it so that that guy is actually a hero.
Stephen Graham, right?
No, Stephen Graham, absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
Because he gets the assignment as well.
yeah.
He's, from what I understand, he's with the Angels, right? He's on the good side, but also capable of fantastic performances as the worst people.
Yeah, agreed.
So anyway, yeah, where have we've got them all now, right?
And those two knights
Knights?
in the church. The effigies on the tombs.
Them two bodies, you mean? Drawn out man-size in marble.
What a turn of phrase you have. Great fodder for your little stories, kid.
We've got them all. So shall we go from the bottom?
What is the one you've got down there? The room with the tower. Okay, we haven't
Yeah,
seen that yet,
tower.
so I'm just going to assume we'd leave that there. Yeah, going from the absolute worst, then we've got. What have we got there? We've got the Ice House and Stigma.
Stigma, yeah.
Stigma balls.
Rip.
Rip. So yeah, did we want to debate which the worst is? Or are we just agreed on that?
I think the Ice House is worse because Stigma at least has accidental atmosphere. It has like a slight feeling of dread, whereas the Ice House feels like watching like a terrible period drama from 1977. It feels
I
awful.
felt a very real sense of dread when the brother and sister started to kiss. I was dreading where it was going.
Yeah, but it was so stupid.
It was like yeah, it was like a 1980s music video. It was
It's not the kind of dread I want.
hideous to look at, and
This was kind of more of a sci-fi dread in Stigma, which wasn't quite the kind of dread that I want, but it's more close to the kind of dread that I want than the Ice House.
I read it in a book is coming back to me, and it infuriates me.
The book is really bad.
I
Yeah,
read it in a book.
Oh, and it did have that nude scene.
Yeah, which also filled me with dread.
Oh, I don't know now. Maybe it is Stigma. It's Stigma. I think
it's Stigma. Stigma is the one that seems to have actively not making any allegations, just like,
yeah, the Ice House doesn't
it
have
hurt
anything
someone.
as bad as that nudity scene.
Right. I mean, then we've got. Well, you've got the Signalman and the original Whistle, and I'll come to you in S tier, right? You didn't want to debate mid-table, I take it. We've run long enough.
Yeah, that's fine. It is what it is. If you're a big fan of one of these ones that we've put later, shout it out in the comments. I'm always happy to see people who like something more than I like it. You know what I mean? I'm always happy for people to like things. Like, I don't like people disagreeing with me if they hate something that I like. But if they like something that I don't, I'm always happy to hear it. I love the Signalman.
Maybe you should marry him.
He seems stressed.
He needs someone in his life.
I'm not living in that Signalman box either.
Whistle and I'll Come to You is still my pick for my favorite, but I can
think
understand.
Whistle and I'll Come to You is my pick for favorite too.
Okay, well, we've reached consensus, and isn't that really
I don't
most
like
important?
View from the Hill. I don't really like View from the Hill, and I think Lost Hearts is better than you think it is.
Well, they're in the A tier. That's the consensus.
Yeah, they're all in the same tier. Screw it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to debate further than that. So, I mean, thank you very much for joining me on this odyssey. And I guess once the room to the tower or from the tower. The room from the tower has aired. People should put that in the comments. Where do you think that ranks on the tier list?
There's
Anyway,
no way it's worse than Stigma.
there's no way it's worse than Stigma. You couldn't make Stigma these days. It's too woke. You can't just force an actress to show her tits for no good reason. Yeah, rub that blood in there. Any other recommendations for the next tier list that we should take 6 years to make? Please also leave in the comments. If you would like to disagree with anything that we've said, obviously you're free to do that, and I'm free to ignore you. In the meantime, this has been Jack and Charlie from Indie Film Library discussing at length the best of A Ghost Story for Christmas, and we will see you in the new year.
Nice day.
And so concluded the strangest case that Judge George Jeffreys ever tried. It's not one you will find recorded in the official histories. Perhaps for a very good reason.